Well, well, well. If it isn't my people. Oh, boy. There we go. Hi, guys. How y'all doing today? If anybody's there. Just waiting on people to hop in so we can kind of update everybody on what's going on. Specifically with this big bird right here. It's not a big bird. It's sort of a bird. Drop something down here. Ah, yeah. All right, perfect. Just waiting on the people. I don't know why these lights are fading like this. This is weird, man. We've been in this shadow of darkness forever. It seems like. Oh, there we go. Hi, everyone. There is there's people outside obviously doing yard work. So okay. So I know everyone is wanting to discuss the wing here. And hi, Colt. Hold on, I gotta let the husky in. Since he came in here like a freight train. Come on, go. All right, hold on. I gotta close that back door really quick because it's really cold out here in Cali right now. We have been underneath some stuff. I'm telling you. Hold on. So I can tell you from what's been going on that we've been under this perpetual cloud. There was a temperature inversion, and everyone said this has happened before. And I guess maybe on some scale it has, but um, honestly, I don't know. I haven't seen it. You know, it's not something I'm used to. So we were working on this, and on this 90 millimeter wing. But I kind of, one of the reasons why, well, yeah, one of two reasons why I haven't gone out too much is I end up getting shingles, which really sucks. Because you go through life after chicken pox and stuff like that when you're young, and you're like, this is awful. I'm glad it'll never happen again. And then it's and then your body's like, watch what I do now. And it's not comfortable. It was on my back through the nerve. It's something about the nerve in my thoracic area, and that caused pain all the way across the chest, like crushed glass in the in the muscles. That's what it felt like. And I'm still taking like the antivirals for it and stuff like that. But um, hello, Wyoming. DJ Puck, welcome to it. We're just touching on what's been going on and why I haven't done a flight yet and why why I haven't posted a whole lot recently. It's just because hello, Elman Monster, welcome to the chat. Um so yeah, basically it's been I'm what? Why am I danger? Because of this perpetual cloud of darkness that we live under in the valley. It's been crazy. 3 weeks straight. 3 weeks straight. And it's been nothing but just total. I haven't seen the sun in at least 3 weeks. Um, but we're gonna take this bird out and fly it pretty soon. I've got to do a little bit of adjustment on some of the wires. Yes, this whole thing was 3D printed, so I plan on like reprinting the top to accommodate some of the wiring for the ESC. Because when I did the ESC design on this 90 millimeter EDF flying wing, um, I didn't compensate for the wiring. I did it off the measurements of the ESC, which was close, but it never gives you the wiring in the weight and the size of the stuff. So, but yeah, this thing's got some serious power. I'll tell you that. So it's gonna be fun. I'm still gonna fly it like this to test it, like one of those straight, um, one of those can just straight see when it gains lift, and that's why I built this little cart because this is meant to be like a hand launch, but we're talking like a hand launch flying wing that's carrying a 6,000 milliamp brick in the bottom. So it's like totally cool. So I made these little cart that goes into the hand grooves and it'll slide out of it and then little TPU wheels. It's funny. I call it my Mario Kart. So it'll because I don't trust myself to hand launch it right now. So and everything is functioning on it. So if you're curious, I will show you that everything is functioning on it. So if I can find some room here. Coffee's so important. I'm like, I don't want to move that. Yeah, man child. Thank you for that. When you get older and you don't grow up, you still love your hobbies and things like that and enjoy life. It's a good thing. So thank you for pointing that out. I'm in the Tulsa King movie. You see me, I don't even know what that is, but um, okay. You obviously know Tulsa King more than I do. All right, so hold on. I'm gonna plug this up. I'm gonna plug her in. All right, so obviously, start off. This is because we're covered in fog, so I had to have the lighting on there. Um, but as you can see, all my control surfaces, ailerons are working. And let's see if I can hold this. Got that howl because of the way I designed the front end of the wing. It's got that howl. That was loud. Ah, but yeah, you can see this is so I can sort of kind of watch it as we're flying it. in the air because I mean I'll lose track of it in this dark fog. So because we've been covered with it forever. So when I go out for the maiden, I wanted to be able to see everything that was going on. Nice. He's alive. Love how those ailerons and everything work. It's working great. So basically, the me me getting the freaking shingles on my back was an extremely painful experience. So that kind of set me back as far as taking this out to do its maiden flight. But I wanted everyone to kind of see what was going on. That everything was pretty much ready, except I am going to redesign this top part um, to give me more space for the servo wiring. I have shorter servo wires and stuff like that. Um, yeah, I assume that there's probably a lot of third grade chat, just like you said. And I thank the moderators. Um, yeah, you guys, is this what you do? You sit and wait on your existential crisis rectangle for someone to troll? Wow. You guys are just wow. What are you talking about? I think that people project a lot on here, the ones that are trolling. It's like the person who is saying I kind of look what was it you said? Um out out of time. He just basically is hoping that I am. So that's sorry. Sorry. I'm very much a heterosexual male and I'm married and you can ask my wife. Late pipe better than anyone you know. I appreciate the clarification. I'm glad you guys aren't trolling. You made that clear. That's great. Um, I'm just here to talk about, kind of update all of my subscribers that are normally here on the lives. It doesn't really. When I do lives, let me lower this a little bit. Okay. When I do lives, I try to just kind of get to know the people who are interested in the content, whether it be just the chatting and hanging out or talking about what's going on in the world, which I try not to be too political because it's just a ridiculous waste of time. Um, like the person asking which country and then a question mark. I don't know why you're asking me that. Um, so realistically, it's just a times where I get to kind of know people who are interested in not only the 3D printing or RC hobby or just want to chat and hang out or find a cool channel to watch where they can see some cool stuff that's being built, flown, that kind of thing. I have a much larger project over here. I'm probably building the biggest drone that's ever been 3D printed. Um, and keep in mind what I said. I didn't say I was building the biggest drone in the world. I'm building the biggest 3D printed drone in the world. And well, I'll just swing the camera around and show you. So yeah, that's the EDF drone that I'm building. Elman, what do you keep asking me that for? Yeah, that's okay. So I'm 6'4", and this will kind of give you an idea of the size of the drone. I'm 6'4". These are 11 blade EDF engines. They're high pass blade design. The 75-volt motors. I CNC my own heat sinks for the top of the outrunners. I'm running the Mad Components 120 amp AMPX ESCs. It's going to run on the 18S pack, so 75 volts nominal for all motors. I'm just still waiting for the rest of the hardware. I've got 2 of the ESCs, 2 of the motors. Got to get 2 more of those. It's an expensive gig, and I'm trying to go slow, you know, because this was 28 kilograms of filament that I had to print. So there you go. I'm even using, I don't know if you can see it here. These are tapered roller bearings for a car axle. That's what I'm using for the main shaft's main rotator for vertical stabilization when the fan's pulling up. And your motor mount, when your motor slides on over the top of that. The shafting gate is a collet that goes here. And then, of course, you get what you see up here, a spinning motor. So yeah, it's a big project, but it is one that I'm working on still. So, and let me show you something else. I'm gonna find a battery for you. Oh, maybe this one. This might light up for a second. This battery's probably dead. But it's all going to be lit up. So I also have a smaller EDF drone that I'm putting together. This is a 70 millimeter EDF drone. This one's also going to be lit up. I'll see if I can show you. Where's my 10,000 milliamp pack? Here they are. So this will hold. I've done this drone before. So what is what for? The big drone? That's just a heavy lift drone that I'm building. This one is an EDF drone. It's basically the mothership. This is going to have some swarm technology on it. So that's what we're going for. This is a 10,000 milliamp pack. Hold on, I got to get that converter for that. Oh wait, no, different one. This one. And this is just so I can kind of show you the whole effects. This one will be fun to fly. And it holds just 70 millimeter EDFs off of Amazon. I'm gonna get a can out of the way. 70 millimeter EDFs off Amazon. I've actually already done this drone before. If you go to the Shrike Concept Drone playlist, you'll see. Look for the Shrike Maiden, and you'll see where I did this drone before, but it had a different top on it. This one I'm doing a little bit differently because I did a thinner wall print. I used some epoxy to coat it. I added some light rails on the inside and some marker lights. Those are all run by the Arduino here. And yes, it's not a 4-in-1 ESC. It's a SpeedyBee F405 Mini that's sitting on top of an APD 500X power distribution board because you're not getting the power out of a standard stack to run 40 EDFs at 6S. It's with the math, the math won't math. But yeah, it looks good. It looks really good. So this one's gonna be fun to fly. And like I said, I've already flown it before. You can go see a video of it. That one will fly eventually. That's a heavy lift drone. Uh, Rust and aluminum shavings combined to some. Oh, wait, I don't understand what you mean. Fuse timer. Um, that drone, Tim, it is kind of heavy. It's 85 pounds, but it has 472 pounds of thrust, so it's totally cool on the ratio. Yes, I 3D printed the drone body. I 3D printed everything except for the carbon fiber tubes you saw in that to kind of I used for structural reinforcement, which anybody in the aircraft hobbies, hobby zone is going to do. Um, then yeah, everything else is 3D printed. The stator, the main shaft, the blades, everything. It's all. I have a test fan down here. I'll kind of show you the design. Kind of I got to get it put back together because I want to use this as a test article to do a bird strike simulation, but use like a hot dog or something. But this is the fan. I got to replace two of the blades, and it's all 3D printed and it's all friction fit. There's no glue holding anything together here, and um, then there's bolts that go down here, 8 millimeter bolts that hold it down to the hub. And then a hexagonal shaft to make sure that the vertical printed shaft doesn't snap under load. That all goes inside casing. Um, on the first set of bearings in the fan casing, like so. And then on the outside of that is the ductwork, which is what you see in the big ductwork around that. So there's a lot more to it than this. This is the main internal fan part, but this was my test fan. So to fly this one, yeah, I had to get a registration number for this from the FAA. You got to follow the Part 107 rules. So if you're doing it for a craft that's under 55 pounds, over that, it's going to be a different rule, different registration the way you have to do it. It's in an experimental realm, though. It's not used for like the commercial or industrial or anything like that. Any test flights are done. I live out in the middle of nowhere, so the only thing around me is orchards. So I find an appropriate field, get a hold of the owner, and say, "Hey, I'm going to do some testing here." I have a 400-foot ceiling for most of my, for all of my flights. For that, this one is going to require a little bit more paperwork, just because it's a little over the weight that it's supposed to be. But that's with the battery pack. So that once this switches to hydrogen, it's a different story. It still may be close to the same weight, but it'll be running off of hydrogen rather than lithium polymer packs. So the lithium polymer packs that I'm putting together for the 18 cell pack is literally just for testing. It's just to test the flight worthiness. Eventually, the entire fan and blade system is going to be CNC'd out of a 7075. I'm going to make some minor changes to the way the shaft is put together because when you build something, you build it to the specifications of the equipment that you have. So that's why that one turned out the way it did. Because you have to, this, I knew how my printer printed, so I basically designed it around that. How the printer is going to put out objects. That's how I engineered it. So some engineering corrections will be made to the CNC version. I'm just trying to find a good 5-axis CNC, something desktop that can handle it. The cord length is decent on the blades, but they only span about 6 inches at maximum. So if I had a decent desktop 5-axis CNC, or something similar to that that could mill out that blade geometry, then I would definitely go with that. But I'm still looking around, haven't found one yet. Uh, you figured out how to stabilize the drone when printing. Um, I what do you mean by stabilizing the drone when printing? Hello, Plush. How are you? Um, well, I thought about PCB Way, but the thing is, they don't want to sponsor for too much because, I mean, I think I've only got 18,000 some odd subscribers, somewhere around there. So it's not one of those things where for them it's, you know, beneficial financially to make all my blades, because I already went and checked on the prices, like how much all this stuff's going to cost. And it's fairly expensive. I could probably buy a machine for what they want to charge to get all the stuff that I need milled or machined out. So I could probably just buy it myself. So we're talking thousands of dollars to get all these done. I mean, they wanted for one full when I was testing a 22 blade version, they wanted $12,000 to CNC it out. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Um, so the idea for me now is just get the channel big enough where I can actually, hit up Pins and Machine and say, well, your pocket NC looks like it might be able to do the job. Let's see if it can do the job, and then let's see if it can produce the 6065 or 775 aluminum parts that I need for the main blades on the fan and the hub and the main shaft and the stator, the bearing stator hub. The rest can be carbon fiber or 3D printed. Um, that's really the big thing, is finding out if I can get that done. It's just wildly expensive. I can't afford to drop $15,000 on a machine. So it's one of those things where it's like, hey, let me be like one of your, um, you know, commercials. We'll fly this drone, and then you can show how each individual part was made on your machine, and it would open up more doors and stuff like that. So when it's going to print, would it be as stable as traditional 3D printers? Um, Traditional 3D print? Are you talking about from like which printers are we comparing? Because this was done on the X1 Carbon, so from Bamboo Lab, and I tried to print everything obviously with the tensile strength of the material in mind. So when you're doing the infill, the blades are, for example, they're each individual blade. I went with concentric on the infill and the exterior, and that allowed it to lay the lines out straight along the actual path of the chord of the blade from the root to the tip. So what that does is it allows it to creep naturally the way it's supposed to, as opposed to printing it with an infill that's rectilinear, where it's crossing paths and stuff like that. So you stay with a concentric infill that goes along the actual shape of that blade, and that gives it that tensile strength that you're looking for. Oh man, the shingles, yes. Uh, it's been rough. It's been rough. I'll tell you what, CG, it's been rough. I mean, I've never had it in my life, and they said, well, it's something you could possibly get if you had chicken pox when you were a kid. They could come back later in life if you have a stressor. Well, I quit smoking cigarettes like a month and a half ago, just straight cold turkey. and that may have been the stressor they said that kind of pushed it over the edge. But yeah, shingles sucks. I'm telling you, it sucks. It is some hardcore stuff. I'm telling you. It's like I got it in my and the nerve that got hit was my thoracic nerve. So it went around my scapula and underneath my ilius, and then around to my chest area, where my pecs felt like they had glass in them when you would touch them, and the skin felt like sunburn. It was so sensitive, but there was nothing there, and I could barely move. It was just horrible. So yeah, cold turkey did it for sure. But it's just that they put me on like the antivirals and stuff like that, and it's been rough. I've still been working, and that's what kind of slowed me down. And I figured I would slow down during this season anyway because it's Christmas. Who's going to want to watch me on Christmas? You got family and stuff, and traveling you're doing, and things like that, and it's harder for me to get out and get anything done. But I do want to get this out. This this is ready to go pretty much for its test. So we want to get this going out probably in the next day or two. Get that filmed, and we're gonna see how she flies. I may do some hop tests first from the ground just to see at what speed we get lift, which should be around 24 to 27 miles per hour. Uh, I've heard about the nano silver nebulizers and stuff like that. And I know colloidal silver is good for you, so I'm definitely going to check that out, Ken. Um, because silver's that's why they silver's got value. I mean, it's a malleable material, not as much as gold, but it has antibacterial properties on its own, which is why it's used in the medical industry so much. Pangea, well, hello, welcome to it. Uh, Thank you. Yeah, and thank you for that. Smoking was it didn't seem as hard as everyone thinks it is. I guess it kind of was, but now I don't even really notice it. So annealing the print, yes, I have been annealing the print. The great thing about having a heated chamber is it can partially anneal. So if you let everything cool down on its own, it'll do the annealing for you for the most part. You're looking at 43 Celsius in the chamber when you're printing. So um, you can anneal it in the chamber, or you can put it back in the oven at like I think what is it like 250, 100, 175, 250 degrees somewhere around there, and then it could be lower than that. And then if you like just bake it for like an hour and just let it cool naturally, and then that helps with annealing. Um, so yeah, there's several ways to do it. I want to miss some comments. So hold on a moment. Uh, Hi, how is it going? I'm listening to a back of Queen, a bit of Queen. Okay, you clear. Uh, all I really remember from Queen is like Bohemian Rhapsody because of um. Oh gosh, what's the name of that movie? Uh, why that it's slipping my mind. I don't know why. It had Wayne and Garth in it. You got Wayne's World, right? Who do I remember Wayne's World? Right? Who remembers it? Raise your hand. Yeah, 190. Okay, for the annealing. Gotcha. Um, excellent. Party time. Swing. I'm in it, actually. I'm in the DARPA challenge. I'm in the lift challenge already. It's the only drone I haven't shown on this channel so far. I've completely built it, completely or not built it. I've completely designed it. Um, this is the one of the very first drones that I actually ever started building using math. So I built the entire concept behind what I needed using the mathematics behind what DARPA was wanting, and then I basically designed it, did all the CAD work. That's all done. I know what parts I have to order. I have a complete. I can finish the competition with 51% battery remaining. So I may win this one just because I scienced the hell out of it. Okay, that's what I did before I even went to the drawing board. So yeah, I do have a drone for the DARPA Lift Challenge. Um, DARPA is looking to increase their ability to move payload. They wanted something that was capable of a 4-to-1, because most of the drones that they're using now commercially are a 1-to-1 on what they can lift. They wanted to be the ability to move more cargo. So they opened up this challenge to the public as well as universities and businesses and everything else, so that you could get in, design your own drone, um, basically run the course. And it was basically the idea is you have to fly 4 nautical miles loaded with a 110-pound load, and then you have to drop the load and fly another nautical mile unloaded. And you have to do it with the drone only weighing 55 pounds. It can't weigh more than 55 pounds. It has to coincide with part 107 rules, and then you are able to, you know, base everything you design off of that. So the drone can't weigh more than 55 pounds, and it has to carry 110 pounds, 4 nautical miles. So, and then fly an extra nautical mile and then land. So, um, so that's what I set out to do. So for the first 3 weeks, I was just doing calculations. And then for the week after that, I was designing. And the design's pretty much complete. Now it's just a matter of procuring parts, things like that. I hope I win too. That'd be a lot of money. I mean, I think they broke up the. I was at when we did the webinar on 4th or 3rd of December. I think they'd broken up the actual prize. It was like 2.5 for first, 2.5 million, and 1.5. And I know you have to fact check me on that one. It's up on the Lift Challenge site. I think they put up the webinar meet that they did when we were all there, um, kind of talking, listening into what's going on. The specialist. How you doing? Welcome to the chat. So, hold on. I have to take my antivirals, but I don't want to take anything on camera. So, mainly because I know how YouTube is on that. Like, what's you taking? Stuff for shingles. If I win, I'm going to put the money into some property and build a bigger shop and just keep doing this. The planes, the drones, the CAD work, have better machines, that kind of stuff. It's all going into the hobby. It's all going into what I'm building and what I'm doing, and then eventually I'm going to be like, one of the main reasons for the big drone is so that I can have an off-road quad, like literally an off-road quad. So that I can ride around. And then eventually, if something happens and a company picks it up, then it can be the first internally bladed, ducted, um, basically hover quad, I guess you want to call it, or an off-road quad, but not like that Velonaut bike, because on mine you'll be able to actually take corners and bank and go fat, like actually drive it like a quad, you know, just in the air if you want to. Or at ground level, it'll have the LiDAR and everything you need so that you can stay at a specific level off the ground. Forward facing camera so it knows what terrain is coming, what's under it, tons of sensors. So you could ride it like a quad. It would just be awesome, I think. And I respect the guy's design with the Molonot thing, but I had a closer look at one of his videos, and he's running 6 small turbines. And I know that because he had 6 status readout panels for each one, or had 3, or had 6, one for each one. And I it was still a kerosene burning system, and mine's going to be more or less hydrogen, which means it's full electric. It's all electric, but it's using hydrogen for it. And that's one of the reasons why I do stuff like this, so that my dream of flying around wherever I want to becomes one of your dreams. And oh, look, capitalist is stating his pronoun, I think. Trolls. What you do with trolls? You take the trolls, put them in your pocket, shut them up. They can troll if they want to and give a damn. They can't. All the trolls realize fairly quickly they've come to the wrong channel. You can say whatever you want. Uh, you could ask my cousin, man. We were young. No one could outburn. I mean, I'm telling you, I, have at it. I don't care. Oh, what am I building? Well, we have the 90 millimeter EDF wing, which, by the way, howls like a specific plane. What was the plane they told me that was? I can't remember the name of it. Somebody told Zumi. And then we have the larger drone over here, which is the heavy lift we've been talking about. And that one is the one I'm building as a quad, something that's rideable, something that's uh, can do work for specific operations, depending on whoever decides to buy it. Once I get a finished version out there. Um, but other than that, just wanted to build one that to fly in Valley Desert. See, that's okay. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. CG, you brought up a good point. I will build one you can ride in the day. I'll build one you can ride anywhere because it'll still be able to um, maintain a distance off the ground um, that's comparable to a car, but like you're on a quad. So, and it's an internally ducted system. So the end body result for this will have long elongated ducts around the actual body framing, so that the air can still come in. The volume of air that you need is still there, but it's graded and it's not an open fan. Even though it's a ducted fan system, it's not open to the point where something could get sucked into it. And then you're basically able to just fly wherever you want to. And again, I respect the guy on the Volanaut bike, but um, he doesn't bank. I challenge him to bank around a corner like you would on a motorcycle. Not that he doesn't have a good idea, but you're not banking on it unless you're gimbaling those engines. Hi, Sunshine. Thank you for coming to my defense. I think he was stating that's what he was, and he wanted the world to know it, I think, about 25 times. So He may have just wanted everyone to know what he was. You notice he's either watching silently or gone already. So, so yeah, this has been an interesting adventure. So I go I have a lot of different drones. I've got, like I said, the Strike Concept drone, which is this 70 millimeter EDF. I got to get some more EDFs. Like I said before, this one has flown. If you check out the Shrike Concept Drone playlist, or if you look up Shrike, that's Shrike, and then just put hashtag maiden, it'll come up with the unedited version of this first flight of the FDE colored one that I had. Um, and it has no music and no edits. So you can tell that the entire flight was on one battery and it was all EDFs. But it was really cool. And this one's done for night flying. And I wanted to have this one for night flying, um, because I kind of got it because I did the same thing with the big drone, where I kind of put lights on the nacelles of the large drone. And I just wanted to make sure that this thing was visible in the air to me. I knew which direction I was going, hence the lighting, and that I could control what kind of lighting that I wanted, instead of having to be stuck with what the Speedy Bee F405 Mini could put out as far as its LED control. I wanted more control over that, so I use Arduino. So I put an Arduino on the back and robbed 12 volts off the power distribution board. Changed the capacitors on the original iFlight capacitors from the PX capacitors to YXF capacitors. They're still 50 volts at 1000 microfarads. And these are 80 amp iFlight ESCs that will run DShot 600. So it's perfect for EDFs. You want to make sure you have quick response time when it comes to EDFs control. CG. Yeah, he probably did. But the fact that he spent that much time typing it out that many times, um, that kind of tells you something about that individual. But hey, everyone's got their low spots. You know, they troll for a while and then they grow up. And if they never grow up, then they end up voting for Kamala Harris. So it is what it is. They see me and they say, how many people have asked me if I'm Muslim? It's like walking up to a Hell's Angels with a guy with a beard sitting on his Harley and asking him if he's Muslim. How fucking stupid is that to assume? Just because I have a beard. I'm wearing American flag on the side of my jacket. People ask me, "Are you Muslim?" No, I'm not. What are you, crazy? God. While I'm eating a freaking like bacon sandwich or something. You know, are you Muslim? I don't think so. No. And if that offends anyone, I apologize. I don't want to offend any one person. I'd rather do it as a group. So yeah, when it comes to religion, I'm a Christian, and I will not deny that ever. And Islam will fall under my feet. And if you don't believe me, I'm also a veteran, so you can try it, see what happens. That's all there is to it. Are you asking me? Sorry, I'm already married, off the market. Been married for 16 years. Been married for 16 years, and I get people like condemning my speech, and their birth year starts with 2. And they're like, we heard it on the internet. It must be true. And I was like, bitch, I created the internet. I was there when I wasn't even around. Okay. I was there when your cell phone was the size of a damn briefcase. And you're like we invented Google. And you're like just like getting all your information off the internet. It must be true. We made that whole damn thing. You guys wouldn't have had the internet if it wasn't right. We parked our T-Rexes in the back and we fed them liberals. And then we went inside and we created the damn internet. And then what'd you do? Go and screw the whole fucking thing up. I mean, it's like, and people now, what are people doing? They're getting like 1.2 million views because they put Gorilla Glue in their hair instead of like intellectual stuff where you can be taught something. Like if somebody wanted me to do an instructional video from start to finish on this wing so they could get the parts and buy it and fly it themselves and have some fun or build anything they wanted or had questions about 3D printing or engineering or anything like that, I'd be happy to help. But no, what do people want to do? I don't understand it. They would rather parkour, miss, and use their face to stop their fall and then put that short online and get like millions of views. And I'm thinking to myself, congratulations. You're famous for all of 3 days. That's about it. No, I like the quality subscribers. And I mean that by the ones who are here for the content or for the the company, the content of the company. I do all kinds of stuff. I don't just do this. I do AI art. Try to do those looping. Yeah, I've got I got a nice Christmas cozy cabin. Music that I paid for the license for all the music for, so you guys could listen to it and see if you like it. It's under my AI art playlist. So yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of stuff that I do. This is more. It's not just about my hobby, even though that the hobby is a big part of my life. There's a lot of my life in this channel. It's like the hobby, and then my huskies and stuff like that, and the things I like to do. Just well, it's just me. The channel's me. That's what it is, and that apparently pisses a lot of people off. So what are you talking about? Microwave eggs. I'm being exploited. Well, what makes you think of being exploited by anyone? Yes, he loves you too. Servant of God, A7. He loves everybody. It's just most of the world is too blind to see the truth. They'd rather believe in evolution. Sorry, I don't see any monkeys turning into people right now. It must have just stopped. That's what really cracks me up. They say we live on the science, and it proves this. I'm like, no, you're living, you're banking on what was written about what science can observe and how science behaves, but you don't know the why, and you never will because you're too damn stubborn. Evolution explains everything, apparently, is what they say, and then in the same sentence, we know this because we're self-aware, yet you don't know why we're the only self-aware individuals, the only self-aware life forms that we know of in existence to date. And what I mean by self-aware is you have the ability to override instinct. Most creatures don't. It's survival, reproduction, food. You know, that's it. We can decide against instinctual drives. We can make decisions outside of that. And everyone seems to think we're just, you know, whatever. No. What evidence does evolution have other than the observation of all of creation? What evidence? Please present your evidence. Oh, present your fossil records. Have you read them? Let's see. Show me everything that you have as far as your evidence is concerned. And I'll tell you how evolution is not the answer to creation. Ugh. You observe something, write a book about it, and then all of a sudden everybody believes it. And in this modern day and age, they don't go past what they're studying. They don't answer the why. They can show you the how, which I get. That's what science is about. That's what scientific tools are for. That's what the study of certain things happening is all about. Um, but you can't answer why, and the fact that we can even ask why should make you question evolution. You see, that's what I'm really that's the answer. You want me to? I'm not even sure what you're saying to you. What you can research yourself in YouTube. What are you talking about? Did I miss a comment? Oh no, you're saying you could explain it. I see. It was just a typo. I understand. Um, so you want me to research it myself instead of you telling me your evidence? I've seen everything you're talking about. Okay, we all know how it works, how hydrogen is a base molecule for pretty much everything, and then there's carbon, and then we know how suns work, and we know how iron is eventually born out of a star once it finally collapses and everything, and so it burns through its hydrogen, and then you have helium, and then that turns into that's a red giant phase, right? And then after that it burns up and fuses all of its helium together into heavier elements like carbon, so on and so forth, and then collapses in on itself and becomes a white dwarf, so on. And these are where the elements of the universe come from. But what you don't seem to understand is I show me a species to species jump within the last 5,000 years. Show me a species to species jump right now. I'm not talking about like a caterpillar to a freaking butterfly. That's its life cycle. That's what it's for. I'm talking about a fish to an iguana to, I don't know, a freaking aardvark in some people's cases, and then a monkey, and then a human. All right, show me that. Show me that evidence. No, species to species evolution has never happened, ever. It never has and never will. Exactly. If you can't back up your claim, why even throw it out there? How do you expect me to show you? Thank you for proving my point. You can show me. Now you just said, how do I, you can or can't show me? This is a comment with what? How I can show me? I'm here. I'm self aware. I'm aware of the fact that I can override my own instinctual drive as a mammal with my own self awareness, which means that there is another level of my existence that is not bound by biology, period. My info, if you want to give me evidence in the form of info, I assume you mean links or something like that. Just I have an email in my channel bio. You could shoot me a. We can debate this all the time. I'm passionate about it, yes, but I'm not angry towards you. So don't take that wrong. This is debate, and this is the kind of thing we need to have. Is a civil debate. Show me your evidence. We'll debate it. Um, that's basically it. I show you my evidence. We debate it, but we don't like Evan, for example, who comes in and starts trying. He always trolls. Um, he's like one of my little troll pets, right? So he'll come in and say stupid shit all the time, and it's usually the same stupid shit all the time. Um, and I'm not sure why. I think he likes me. He keeps coming back, but we can have a civil debate about the discussion. So if you have evidence, please, by all means, go to my channel page, email me what you got, and let's discuss it. We'll debate it. There's no hate for me for people who believe in evolution. I think the idea of evolution is ridiculous. So don't excuse my passion for that for a personal attack. I would rather you understand that this is about debate. War dog. What's up, brother? What's going on? Yes, Evan, because you always come in here with some other, it's always the same thing. It's always the same insult. I guarantee you I'm going to hear it through this, right? You may not do it now just because I said it, but I already know what you're going to say half the time. It is a debate. What do you mean it's fact? And you can debate with what you think your facts are, and I'll debate with my facts, and then we'll go from there. You you saying that there's no debate and evolution has to be the answer doesn't make you scientific at all. That's not a scientific approach. To close off your mind to the possibility of anything else in lieu of what you believe. Now, I'm not saying that science can't observe creation and how it behaves and how the universe behaves. Everything from time dilation closer to a gravity well, things of that nature. I'm not saying we can't observe science and how the world works, but how you interpret it is important. And that's where the debate happens. So if you're not going to debate me and you're just going to say evolution is your answer, then there is no debate and don't send me any evidence because it's going to be meaningless without you, unless you're objective to it and open to the fact that we can debate back and forth for the purpose of clarity, then don't even try. You just like everybody else. I'm right, you're wrong. My birth year begins with two. I mean, come on. See, that's what I'm talking about. And because you can't back up anything with a debate, all you do is insult. A cognitive discussion. Whatever. You don't want to debate anything because you don't have anything to debate with. If you did, you would. Don't worry, Quint. God still sees you, and He still loves you. No, it's not pretty cruel to send someone to hell for all eternity. You make your own decisions. You think it's cruel that we send murderers to prison? No, I mean, no, it's a choice you make. You're choosing it, man. It's pretty cut and clear. Open the Bible and look at it. It's pretty clear. It's real simple. Not anything, nothing bad in your life is going to happen because you follow a moral grounding that comes from morals you obviously have and that people tend to ignore for the sake of selfish personal desire. And if that's how weak that individual is, then, you know, it's your bed. You lie in it. Evan with the weird questions. Here it comes. No, he's not. He's not saying if you reject him, you go to hell. He's saying if you reject him, you go to hell. He's not saying he's sending you there. You're already born into sin, so you're already on your way to hell. Your only salvation is Christ. That's where people get things backwards. You see, that's why there was initially a flood, and that was to destroy the corruption of earth that had been corrupted by literally angels. So, I mean, you know the story, obviously. Unless you don't, then read the Bible, you'll figure it out. But the idea was that Noah was the only one that didn't have any defiled blood, the original DNA that was created, that was uncorrupted. So it was saved. And from that, those lines came out. From that, that gave us, but just like the Israelites being led out of Egypt, they were constantly disobeying, regardless of the fact that they were having being fed from heaven, water from rocks, you name it, protected from their pursuers, and they still complained. They still complained and they still complained. And this is like just a perfect example of it. The discussion that we're having right now is that no matter how many times God intervenes in your life, you're still like, no, I'm unhappy. It isn't real. I want another answer. I mean, it does. I'm not surprised God killed everyone on Earth the first time. I'm not. Mm, never saved you while you were suffering. Well, maybe don't you think that He was letting you suffer until you learned how to fully surrender instead of just asking? Oh, I'm not going to live my life for God, but as soon as I need something, I'm going to ask. This is what people typically do, and then they argue against the existence of a creator or call him cruel because they didn't have the fortitude to endure to the end as they were commanded to, learn from the suffering, and be what it is that God set out for them to be. That's how it works. I've gone through some suffering in my life. If you want to compare suffering, I'll tell you some suffering. and that made me closer to God than anybody than I've ever been in my life, because of how He brought me through it. Yeah, be nice, Evan. We like keeping you around. What does it mean, hide your kids? Are you being disgusting, Evan? What do you mean? How can you hate someone you haven't met?
Yes, Evan. I've met him in real life.
You're good. Don't get her mad, man. She's Irish and Nordic. She'll find your ad. But anyway, we could sit here and debate evolution and God and everything else all day long. You want to. Um, Against an object to the religion or object to their religion. Open-minded. It's bad to make people clones. Who are we making clones? By what? By what method? Well, no, they need to be their own person. That's the thing. They got to be their own person. They got to go through their own journey. If God has a specific purpose for them, uh, and they go through things, it doesn't make any sense to me how people say, "Oh, God doesn't exist. God doesn't exist," and then you know how many people on Instagram say that oh, I read the Bible, that's why I'm not Christian. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. That's like saying I read the manual to this car, but I still don't know how to drive it. Hold on, I'm reading all your stuff there, Patrick. Well, we're in A10 killer A10. It's not really an argument. It's about um, it's a debate on whether this person's saying either God is cruel, uh, or God doesn't exist. I haven't quite figured it out yet, because if he's cruel, then he does exist, and if he's not cruel, um, then I'm not sure what his question is. 7 viewers. As soon as we go to religion, that's always what happens, but I don't care. Uh, this originally was an update to show everyone the drones and to talk and to chat. And I like to get to know the subscribers and the people, as well as do the content that I do. Uh, because the channel, like I said, it's about me, not just the hobby. It's about what I can share with the public when I'm done with the model, uh, that kind of thing. You see, that's the same, Evan. That's the same thing. First off, that's regurgitated from online. So try to find something original. Um, that statement is the one of the most ignorant statements I've ever heard in my entire life. Is that you say that God is either not nice or not powerful, but he creates you and gives you a choice on whether to choose him over the world. because there is an enemy. So okay, fine. You guys want proof of something. Instinct versus our awareness. Very simple. Do you love someone in your life still to this day that has died? Whether that be a parent, whether that be a sister, a loved one, a wife, a husband, a child. Do you still love them? Because in a world where we do not have a self aware being, what's called a soul, you wouldn't be aware of their existence. Most people, most mammals on the earth, if one of their children die, they leave them there. They leave them there. If a loved one dies, they move on. Okay. What do we do? You can't even explain love across the existence and then non-existence of somebody who you loved while they were alive. You can't explain it. You cannot quantify that love. You still love them now. How is it possible if we were just instinctual beings and you still have a love for someone who is gone just as strong as when they were alive? And then tell me that we just, are mammals. Shut up, Evan. Uh, you're back in your car bed. Uh, oh, we're a cult now? I guess I expected as much for someone named Evil OJ. Uh, now, I just don't understand why people are so. If you're look, if you don't believe in God or the Bible, then why does everyone try so hard to disprove it? If it's something that doesn't exist, if it's just nothing to you, then why try so hard to disprove the existence of God to the point where it gets um, people angry, like staying off the grid. Oh, I know. Hi, Chad. How you doing? He thinks he can hide. We don't see your picture there, Chad. Sorry. Or is it Chode? I have the power, Chode. There. Now you can watch from the corner. Okay, what do you Sphinx, explain yourself. Explain your comment. Explain your comment and give me an example of what you're talking about. I'll wait. Voice your opinion. I believe in Christ. There's nothing that you can say that's going to change my mind. So if that's a problem with you, sorry. I don't hate people who don't believe in it. I don't hate people who don't believe that God exists. I don't dislike people who believe in evolution. I think it's ridiculous, but it's I don't judge the person. I don't hate the person for that. So you're speaking like I'm in the third person, but I'm right here. So just have the courage to say it. Yes, God wills it. Deus Volt. And now A10 knows I'm a Templar. Well, that's the thing. People don't want to, they don't want to debate anything. And they don't want me to have an opinion on the subject. They just want it to go away. And that should tell you a lot. Uh, their reason for controlling people with a book. Isn't that what you're trying to do? I mean, it's the same thing, right? Science, stuff that's written down, Bible, history that's written down. You have no book. Okay. So what's your point then? Hey, you know what? You haven't missed the whole lot. It's just a lot of people hating on me for being a Christian. Yeah, that's exactly what the devil wants, is for people to live how they want. And that is the problem with the world, is man still wants to be his own God. Roland, I appreciate that. And you know what? I had there was a someone who was of the Muslim faith who watched me on one of my lives. Actually, he watched me on a few of my lives, and he was a Muslim. But he asked me, questions about my faith, about being Christian. I said, look, we may not agree on our faiths. You may not agree with mine. I may not agree with yours. But if I didn't stand firm in my belief, how would you respect me at all? And he understood what I was saying. And we debated without having people doing this, talking like I'm not here, which is the easiest way for people who have no evidence. See, they just admitted to me that they had no book, uh, but they tell me I'm trying to manipulate them with a book, and it's not. It's not just a book. It's the truth. That's the point, and it's the same thing that you're trying to tell me, is that your evolution is the truth, and you don't want to debate it. You've already said you don't want to bring any evidence out and debate the situation. Um, so, I mean, what's the point? If you don't, I'm not going to sit here and try and change your lifestyle. That you can live however you want. What do I believe in? I know that Christ is the only way back to the Father. If you don't believe that, if you don't believe what's going on in the Bible, if you don't believe what's to come, then I don't know what to tell you other than you're going to see. And there's going to be an opportunity for one of us to say, I told you so. But at that point, I'm not going to be worried about something like that. I'm going to feel sorry for the people who didn't understand that I'm not trying to force them to change who they are, but to understand where they came from. And you want to come from a pile of mud from somewhere, or a couple of amino acids that came together billions of years ago, then so be it. Okay, believe what you want to. Oh, you think maybe, Evan, it's because they like all live on ice all the time? I mean, it makes sense that they'd be better at hockey, right? BDN 707, hi, welcome to the chat. How are you doing? Someone brought up religion, and that's why we're down to 9 viewers. Um, but that's fine. I don't care. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Well, a lot of people, I may lose subscribers over it, but I don't care. I get a lot of hate in the chat. I don't care. Bottom line is when it's all said and done, um, I had a friend that was agnostic, and he basically had no evidence other than, well, Darwin says this and that and the other, and I think it's just unbelievable. We found dinosaurs and they don't even realize the word dinosaur. They act like it's always been around. Um, the actual term for it in the Bible is they called them leviathans if they came from the ocean, or dragons if they were on the land. Which I'm not sure the exact Hebrew definition of it was, but it meant dragon or leviathan. Um, but yeah, it was. Uh, People just want to. Evolution must be the answer. It's like, why? Why must it be the answer? Because the Bible would make you accountable for your actions. And nobody on this world wants to be accountable anymore. I mean, for crying out loud, look at Ariana Grande and her pet or whatever that is. That I mean, that's insanity. And they all look dead. Like they're like you ever seen that show, Tales from the Crypt? The Crypt Keeper at the beginning. That's what Ariana Grande looks like right now. And I've seen reels on like Instagram where her and whatever that psychotic robot is that she's walking around with is doing, like leaning in real close and adjusting her necklace and like, picking stuff off of her face. What is going on here, right? That's next level insanity. Trying to justify those kind of actions, and what was Ariana Grande saying? Like she like, screams out. She's like, "Oh, I thank everyone," and then all of a sudden she like says, "Oh, and the gay people," like she forgot to say it. Like she had some kind of like book deal for it or something. I don't know. That's some crazy stuff, man. You look at the world nowadays. Why would you want to be a part of it? Look at Hollywood. Look at what's going on. You're like, oh no, I want, I'd rather be part of the world. Don't want to be a part of the only salvation that might save us in the very end. Let's go ahead and toss that out the window and just believe that we all came from, fish. How dare you, evolutionists, eat fish? Those are your ancestors. Ugh. Evan, yeah, you're right. You really don't. You're just here to troll. Remember? Come on, troll. This is so toxic. He said. This guy's judging again. He says, just you, Evan. Just you. Everybody's entitled to their opinions. And then the moment I give mine, I'm a bad guy. That's what I call hypocrisy. Thank you, Evan, for demonstrating it so well. Yeah, trolls gonna troll. They always do. Uh, Originally, we were talking about this maiden. So sometime we'll get back to that because no one's gonna want to hear the truth. So we're just gonna stick with this. Sometime in the next couple of days, um, I'm gonna get this out there. I do have the lighting rig hooked up. everything's good to go on it. Um, this was something I designed on Fusion 360. Very simple design. And it's one of the few designs where it's a centrally placed engine with no actual front fuselage. Well, one, I don't need a pilot, so why would I need a cockpit? So I wasn't trying to design an airplane as far as like a mock-up of a jet, something that already exists. I wanted to do something a little different. So I went with, let me turn this on. That way you guys can see the lighting and stuff like that. Good. I do have to run some wiring a little bit differently, but other than that, all right. So let me take off my little Mario Kart landing gear. It's supposed to be a hand launch vehicle, but I'm afraid to hand launch it. That's why I have the wheels that come off. So I can roll down the dirt at the baseball diamond and then take off, and hopefully the wheels will fall off. You know, but yeah, everything's working. Elevon controls. 90 millimeter power. Hi, everybody. Now, the only thing I'm worried about is if I've got Expo on to like 70 or maybe 50, but I'm wondering if I should limit my throw. This does have some weight to it because of that 6,000 milliamp pack that's in here. So it's holding a 6,000 milliamp battery. And it's running on one single centrally located 90 millimeter motor. But I don't know if it's too much throw for it being a flying wing. That's what I'm worried about. So I've got the Expo set, so we'll be able to tell. And I'm probably going to set up dual rates so that because this is not stabilized by anything. This is standard S bus control, old school RC stuff, right? I'm not using a flight controller. I'm not using iNav to program it. It's just something to fly. Okay. So, and it looks really cool. But these are some carbon fiber reinforcements rather than internal rods. And then, hey, you gotta experiment and have fun, right? So that's what this one's all about. The other one is going to be the other one's going to be more fun. Um, I Evan, you're telling me that I'm toxic when you came in as a troll originally, God knows how many chats ago, and you're still here trolling? Good Lord. After this flies, I'll probably get the rest of the stuff ready for this one. This is a 70 millimeter EDF. You've seen that one. Um, I got to order the EDF motors, but I already have one of these that I flew. So the cool one is going to be this one. That's going to be the cool one. That's my little tiny drone. Oh, you're talking about the blade, Gil? I'm right there with you, man. The reason why the way I did this wing, and I'll show you real quick, is it's supposed to be hand launched. So it was supposed to be a hand launch kind of javelin throw kind of launch. And I was afraid to do it that way. Um, let me get down over here so you can see me. So I was gonna try and launch it that way, sort of, but I didn't trust myself on doing that. So I put together this landing gear that kind of, it's supposed to be a belly lander, so it'll land in the grass at the field. But I needed something to help it take off, right? So I could find out when there was lift and I could trust myself with it. So basically, what I ended up doing was I ended up putting it on these like on this little cart with TPU wheels that I made, so that I could basically, you know, test it. It'll pull that table. Well, I'll show you. Here, everyone sit tight. I'll show you what's up. I'm gonna have to charge the battery eventually because I've done this like 5 times while testing it. All right, just hold up. I'm gonna show you what we're gonna do. So hold on. All right. So let me show you what we're gonna do here. I have these chains with these zip ties at the end, and they go on the back of this cartwheel, like so. So is everybody watching? Okay. I'll tilt the camera up a little bit so you guys can see better. Oh, I definitely want you to see this. So I put these chains on, and this is for the purpose when I was testing it to see. So you can see right now that this cart is chained to the back of the table. This table's pretty heavy. Okay, it take me some force to move it around. Okay, ready to go on. And now what we're going to do, bring this back over here. Can you still see everything? Okay. All right. Okay. Those. All right. So it's chained up. Okay. So this is a heavy welding table. It's got a lot of stuff on it that I work with, a lot of extra parts. You can hear we're going. Okay. Watch this. If I go any farther than half throttle, it'll jump out of the cradle. Hold on. What am I stuck on? Oh, there we go. Hold on. Woo! Had to time that one. But it wants to move the table. Come to me, flying wing. That's got some power. So I think it'll be okay in the air. I'm just guessing, but I think it's gonna fly. I mean, just can you imagine? It's like, hey, you know what? Somebody bring that welding table over here. Oh, it's tipping. Hold on. Damn, I'm stuck on these stupid. I have wedges that I had on the floor. Okay. I had to help that one a little bit. It's almost time to charge the battery, I'm guessing. Definitely going to have some power when it's flying. And with a 6,000 milliamp battery, it's definitely going to have some flight time. So, yeah, I know. Ugh. So, I'll have to get this hooked up to the charger, and then we'll get it all set up for the flight. This one, where is that battery? Ah, yeah. Look at the small drone here if you can see that one. And then I still have to hook up the other set of lights for this one on the buck converter. And this light's gonna malfunction on me, of course. Yeah, that looks. Maybe it'll null itself out. Come on. I don't want to have to get in here and adjust wiring again. Behave. Okay. Well, I mean, it's good enough. I'd spin this up for you, but I'd end up sucking stuff through the turbine. Um, and it runs on 75 volt. And right now I have it set. My test range is 48. So that's what I've been testing the blade strength on, 48. I'm gonna be right back. Hold on. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Guys, hold on one second. Just a second. Making sure that the person in my warehouse was who it says it was supposed to. Okay. Um, let's take a look. What's going on here? Wing shape is unoptimized, but it will probably fly this orbital control. The shape is actually actual math went into that shape. The sweep, the root chord, the tip chord, all went into the shape. Everything was considered. The weight of the overall PETG, the weight of the battery, the weight of the engine, the ESC, all that other stuff. So yeah, it was optimized for that weight. It is going to be a fast mover. It's not going to be an easy glider. No, but it'll fly like most of your EDF jets. It's going to have to scoot about 34 knots, I think, before to maintain lift, I believe, which I think is around 24 miles an hour, something like that. So yeah, it should work just fine. I think it's going to, and that is one of the main reasons why I built the cart for it was because obviously something like that, I'm like, is this a hand launchable thing? I kind of wanted it to be a smaller version of that, or not so much a smaller version, but maybe something with a smaller pack or belly uh, compartment bay for the battery. You probably wouldn't get as much flight time, but you could do it with half of that, like a 3,000 milliamp pack. But that'd bring down the weight significantly. And I think since I have enough aileron authority and it's using elevon control, um, that I think it'll fly okay. I I think it's gonna be squirrely. I think it's gonna be very sensitive to inputs, which is why I'm gonna set the expo so high and make sure I have different rates set on my switches so I can find out what's gonna be the easiest to fly, and then go, okay, well, this is the perfect range. This is it. The throws and the exponential is what we're going to work with. So I have 3 position switches. I'm going to set up switches for 3 different rates and then find out which one works the best. So if it ends up being a situation where, um, it's just not a viable hand launch kind of system, which I think it could be if we had a lighter battery in it. But this test isn't for a lighter battery. So it again, if it takes off at roughly 24 to 27 miles per hour from the ground, then we know that it's viable for hand launching even at this. But it's got to be a javelin type. A lot of people make mistakes and they just try to throw it like a baseball. But realistically, you kind of have to javelin these things like a javelin throw. And then you've got to go full throttle from the get. A lot of people like to ramp up slow after somebody throws it, and they don't realize that unless you have continuous forward thrust from a hand launch, you're not going to move fast enough, quick enough to generate lift. So you've got to javelin throw this thing and then full throttle till it gets up in the air. So um, the burning on the wing. What do you mean? Not with the burning on that wing? Battle bots? Someone asked me if I would get into that at one point. They're like, "Would you ever do a battle bot?" And I'd be like, "No, maybe I would. Um, I could. Um, honestly, I don't know how I would even get into it. I have to look it up." But Sphinx, I don't know what you mean. Not with the burning on that thing. Don't know what you mean. Put that into context for me. Yeah, I know what burning is, but you said not with the burning on that thing. Oh, burring on that thing. I'm sorry. I did not see that. I misread it. My apologies. Um, but what about the burring is a problem? Just curious. Yes, I clarified that. Thank you. Um, I even admitted that I misread it. Small text, bifocals, you'll get there one day. But what about the burring is going to cause a problem? Yes, it is the small font that YouTube is. I could probably raise it in my Windows setting, but how am I creating shear forces? A 90 millimeters set directly above, I mean, literally directly on the line of CG. So we know that. I've already done this. Remember, I build stuff with math first, then I design it. I make a minimal span on the wing? Yeah, because I wanted it to be a faster flyer. Um, the front design is causing the howling sensation, much like one of those. I forget the name of the jet, but it howls the same way, and it's because of the intake lip and how the front of the actual airfoil is shaped and cut out for the intake, and that's what causes that howling, that sort of whistling that happens when you throttle up. Uh, yeah, it'll be stable. I believe it'll be stable. Um, but that's what the testing's for, to find out what changes I may need to make in the CAD file. It's not like it took a lot to print, you know, I'll love along, move along. Oh, move along. No, if you're, I think I know what you're talking about in regards to you're talking about the drag coefficient, but what I don't understand is why you think that's a problem. That you're not explaining, you're just saying that this is a problem, but you're not explaining why you think it's a problem. It's like, what about it won't be stable? What makes you think it won't be stable? And you're stating stuff, but you're not clarifying, you know. And where are the shear forces that you're talking about? Where are they? Where exactly am I going to have to worry about the load creating a shear force on that wing? Tell me where. This is what I'm talking about. If you're going to tell me what you think is wrong with my design, and that I'm creating burring and shear forces and so on and so forth, then tell me where. And instead of just saying it, I'm up to constructive criticism, absolutely. Um, but you got to tell me why. You're being too vague. You're just like, okay, well, and you barely even seen the thing, so it's not like you can make a general assessment. You don't even know what the wing area is, and you're talking about drag coefficients and everything else, and burring, and you don't even know what style of airfoil was used. Um, I mean, this wasn't just a random airfoil. but that's what I expected. So, are you going to elaborate on what it is where the shear forces you think they're going to be, how the burring is going to affect flight, um, with whether or not you think my CG is off? Um, I mean, I'll bring some evidence to the table, that kind of 101. No, the sharp edges are not going to have anything to do with it. 'Cause you're dealing with an inducted fan engine, not a prop. Okay. And I know you're looking at the front of the airfoil and going, well, because of that front of the airfoil, how sharp it is or angular it is, it's going to cause a problem. Well, it's not, because the only thing that's missing from the front of that is where they would place the aerodynamic cockpit for a pilot. Since that isn't needed here, because all of the actual forward force is being pulled through the front, and then the airfoil is taking over from there, you're going to get that howling, which is going to cause a resonance hum through the entire wing foil, uh, which is expected, but it's not going to cause any problems as far as flight stabilization, because the motor itself is just above and just behind the center of gravity, but not far enough to where it's completely behind it. So that when I don't know if you saw it, I had CG marks on the actual thing. I you take the Let me tell you how this works. Okay, this is how we do this in aviation. Yeah, I know what he's calling burring is, but he's talking about the disruption of air. He's talking the vortices that he believes it's going to happen in the front. Uh, you can believe whatever you want to. So you design an aircraft with a specific design or application in mind. So you want it to go fast. You want it to go be somewhat self-stabilized. That's where the dihedral comes in. I thought about putting. A lot of people were like, "Well, put stabilizing wing tips on the end or whatever," and I was like, "No, I think this would be fine." Um, the wing cord at the root is a specific length. The wing cord at the tip is a specific length, and that gives me an overall wing area that I'm looking for the lift necessary to generate the weight of the electronic components and the actual construction components. Axel, I don't care. um, but yeah, the idea of you can call whatever you want to call it. We probably called it something different. We called it drag coefficient, um, not burring. And you're also talking about tip vortices. I understand what you're saying. You just want to put a word to it. Fine, put a word to it. Um, if it makes you feel comfortable. The point is, the tip of the airfoil and the inlet is all set for the 90 millimeter intake lip. That doesn't mean that the intake lip for the 90 millimeter itself is as efficient as it would be on an openly ducted, like a Boeing engine that has a specific intake lip for a specific fan size, and it's designed to make a linear airflow before it goes in through the combustion chamber and so on and so forth. It gets compressed, it goes through, gets ignited with the fuel, and then goes out the back of the low pressure turbine system, and then gets mixed with the high pass air going over the top of the turbine system in order to create less noise and generate thrust while still spinning the main shaft. People don't realize that the fuel being used in those engines is not really for anything other than creating the low pressure um, the combustion for the low pressure turbine out the rear, which typically involves a set of stators and a set of blades, turbine blades, and then of course that rotates the main shaft, so it sort of feeds itself in a sense. Um, and your main thrust comes from the high pass fan, not the internal turbine. So people would argue that all day. Well, it's the thrust coming out the back that causes, that gives you all your power. Well, no, it's not. It's the reason it's the byproduct of the burn. But what's happening is the actual energy is being converted back into rotational thrust for the main high pass fan. That's what gives you your thrust. But hey, what do I know? I'm only an engineer. Yeah, I know. I'm an engineer. I'm right there with you. This design was a proof of concept in placing basically the engine centralized above the wings airfoil, but only by about 75%. And that was for the purpose of the fact the battery underneath was going to weigh a specific amount. So I'm balancing out CG. It is swept. Um, and I told you with a rube cord. I can't remember the wing area off the top of my head, and I have it written down. But the idea is take the wing area, so on and so forth. The cool byproduct is the howling. It's going to sound pretty cool in the air. Uh, People say it'll be unstable, like you guys, but that's okay. There's a lot of things that I've created that people said wouldn't work. And if you look at the Shrike V10 Maiden, that's one of them. They're like, oh, that'll never work. Only fly for a minute. And I had one guy tell me he could operate his entire fleet on my battery pack that I had. I'm like, what do you have? Little tiny pocket hill tiny whoops? Because I ran it on a 6,000 milliamp, 22.2 volt, 100C discharge rate. It was a graphene battery. I honestly don't see any significant differences between standard lithium polymer and graphene batteries, at least the ones you get off of Amazon. And well, no, I get what you're saying. You're saying it's going to affect control, but and this is one of the reasons why I gave it such a large aileron was for that purpose. And then that's why I set it up to adjust rates. Again, this is an experimental aircraft that hasn't flown yet. So once I get it in the air, I want to be able to switch the rates and to know how it's going to act. To know if I need to move CG anywhere, make adjustments, so on and so forth. That's the whole purpose of a first iteration of a model. That's how it works. Start with the math, then you go forward. I'm just eliminating parts I didn't need. I didn't need a cockpit, so I didn't need to put an aerodynamic front end on the thing. I just have the intake for the 90 millimeter turbine, which offsets the weight of the battery pack in the belly pan and gives me the opportunity to put a GoPro or some other camera on the top, which will give it the equal amount of drag from top to bottom. And that's one of the main reasons it was designed that way. I'm kind of hoping I can get some onboard footage of this thing flying. It'd be kind of fun. Um, you didn't see the texture of the model? The texture. Okay, sure. I can show it to you. Now, in these lights on the next print will be internal. This is sort of an addition afterwards, so they're not going to affect the airfoil that much. Same thing with some of the other wiring back here for the ESC. When I did the original design, I did it off of the ESC's actual profile, and that didn't include the wiring. That was kind of my bad. So I'm gonna have to make some compartments for that. There are compartments internally in here for all the wiring that goes to the aileron. And the front system is basically designed to where it would have been a point in the front if had I put an actual cabin and then put in intakes. But then that would have changed up the whole design. So it moves the CG now further forward if I put on a front cabin to deflect wind past the actual intake and then add intake manifolds, which would have just restricted air. The idea behind this is to make sure that it has unrestricted in and out from the very center of gravity of the entire airfoil. And that was the whole point. Stabilization will come from the weight of the pack, believe it or not, and the weight of the whole system together. But the fact that the pack itself is actually um, is what's going to give it its in-flight stabilization. I designed the entire aircraft around basically just that battery pack, and of course the 90 millimeter engine that I have. So that was the whole point. Do I need to get closer? I'll try to get it closer so you can kind of see. So I don't see a lot of drag happening there. So now you look at the airfoil design going this way. Look at the dihedral, the sweep, and the wing area. See, I didn't taper the wing as much as people would have thought I would have done. That would have made things worse. So you tell me, as an aircraft designer or someone who works for the Air Force, I don't know if you designed aircraft. I heard, you remember you said you worked for the Air Force as an engineer. This is the kind of thing that they would use in the military as a kinetic device. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. On a much larger scale, I would guess. So, um, I've banked my entire channel on people telling me things that I make won't work. Uh, so if you look at the Shrike V10 Maiden, you'll see what I'm talking about. Everyone said that was 470 millimeter EDF engine, and for the longest time nobody could figure out how I was powering them, being 6S, um, on a standard flight controller stack. I've seen people make them before, and they just keep blowing the caps on it. I'm like, you can't use the power distribution board on a standard stack like that, especially at 4S. It draws too many amps if you're going to use it, if you're going to make an EDF drone. But on my EDF drone, I did 6S, and then instead of powering the entire system, all four, EDFs, it was 340 amps, I think, total, or 320. And I wanted some overhead, so I used an APD 500X power distribution board, which could handle the 500 amps of current. And it may have been overkill for a drone that size, but it was the only thing that could handle the current that you were pulling. And that's why I didn't blow any capacitors, and I flew for such a long time and had fun with it. The bottom intake, it's not an intake. Uh, it's more or less just to let air flow past that battery. I guess you could call it an intake, but not for the engine. fracture texture on the camera. Is there some? What do I need to do on the camera to make it more visible? The lighting, yeah, the lighting could cause some drag across the bottom of the airfoil, but I don't expect it to be that. The weight of this is well, yeah, a lot you have to take into consideration. Yeah, I used just basically a straight clear PETG, and then I just used a 2% gyroidal infill. There's only two walls on the outside print, and then it's been basically coated with a thin epoxy coat. And then underneath, I use some strips, carbon fiber strips that I impregnated with epoxy, and that was to avoid using a thicker carbon rod inside the airfoil. That was to lighten it up a little bit. So I just went with the epoxy instead. Uh, Hold on one second. What is it? Oh. Ah. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. Someone came to the door. Um, yeah, it's basically it's just PETG, except for one of the ailerons. Um, so it's basically just PETG with a gyroidal infill, and I'm trying to see how it looks on the camera for you. I don't know if that makes it better or not. Hold on, I'm waiting for my camera to catch up so I can see. You can see the internal structuring for that was all epoxied on the inside. And then of course you can see the channeling for the ailerons and the servos and stuff like that. And then we'll go farther towards the end of the wing. And I'll show you what's going on there. Then underside is that mesh I was telling you about, which is impregnated with epoxy, just like everything else. This top comes off. So when I run more wiring for the channels for wiring, I can easily just unbolt it and pull it straight off. So yeah, not too bad. Not for a first iteration anyway. Yeah, the fish scaling you're seeing is actually internal. The wing is obviously transparent. So all of that you're seeing is actually inside. The actual wing itself is smooth, it's like glass because it's got an epoxy coat on it. So what I've done is I've made it clear on purpose because I've had a lot of PETG. It took me 28 kilograms to print that. So um, the idea was since I had so much material, and see, and this basically is just a bigger version of this. This is the 70 millimeter motors. I've got some motors that are coming in for this. These will be 70 millimeter, just like the original one in the playlist if you watch it. Um, and it's running the same speedy F405 wing. I've changed the PX capacitors to YXF to smooth out the ripple current, all that other good stuff. Make everything nice and tight as far as the power supply goes for those EDFs. But since EDFs, as they scale up, become way more expensive, the idea was make my own. And if you look at the Shrike Ultra, the heavy lift, the Sorrow, because I designed it as a search and rescue platform, that could be used in the field to help people. Um, I 3D printed all the blades. Now I do want to alloy those, but that comes back to what desktop CNC machine I can get my hands on to alloy the blade system and the drive system. And those are 75-volt motors, like I explained before. 120 amp AMPX 18S ESCs from Mad Components. And then we'll be running three 10,000 milliamp Z batteries at 120 C discharge rate for flight worthiness. After that, then we're going to switch to hydrogen. So um, that's not the drone I'm using in the DARPA challenge, DARPA lift challenge. The DARPA lift challenge that I'm in is I have a drone that I built with that. Well, I mathed out. It's amazing to me because I hated math, and then when I had to go through so much of it, you know, algebra, calculus, you name it. Um, since I had to go through so much of it, I realized that building this particular drone for that lift challenge is actually I had to start building that drone specifically with math. It was all math for the first 3 weeks, and then after I got the math completed, I knew what VTOL lift I was looking for, and I knew what wing loading I was going to expect. So I designed the wings for that. I'm not going to get into the design of that. I'm not going to show anything about that lift challenge drone until after the lift challenge, and then we'll show the drone. But it was still it was definitely a challenge because you still have to everything had to be within part 107 rules. The drone couldn't weigh more than 55 pounds, and they wanted you to lift a 110-pound payload and fly it 4 nautical miles loaded, drop the load, and then fly 1 nautical mile back unloaded, and then land the drone. And it had to do it within 30 minutes, and it had to be with a 55-pound drone. Um, so I made one, and surprisingly, I can do the entire mission with 51% of my battery supply left, which means I could technically cut my battery pack's size down and lower the weight um, of the actual craft below 55 pounds. Right now, it's sitting at like 52.9. So it is what it is. Um, I'm slowly going to be getting the parts in for that because it's expensive. Trust me, it's expensive. Yeah, the math is the discovery part. I didn't like math, never liked it, but it is interesting though when you're actually applying it in a design that you can see how math plays a huge role in how you're going to design your vehicle. And it's going to be specifically mission based. So your priorities are going to be your mission parameters. And then you have to go and okay, I'm gonna math the heck out of this. I gotta science the crap out of this, and then get that 110-pound payload 4 nautical mile, and then fly back 1 nautical mile and land. So the DARPA drone won't have. I mean, I made room for marker lights, but um, not like this, not like the Strike Ultra here. You know, this one rings in a lot heavier. I got to get a different classification number for it because it's not 55 pounds. It's more like 80. But those engines will put out collectively about 472 pounds of thrust. So it's good for a heavy lift drone, but it's just not good for the lift challenge because it's heavier. And I was building this long before I even entered the lift challenge, to be honest with you. Um, and if you look at the playlist for that, the Shrike SAR drone, the SAR playlist, you can see where I did a lot of testing on these motors at 48 volts, even though they run at 75. Um, you tend to pull more amps at lower volts. So it was good for thermal testing to find thermal barriers. So once it's running at the amps that it's supposed, or the volts that it's supposed to, then the amps will kind of be a little more manageable. And then it's just going to come down to fan load, the disk loading on the engine, and then see what thermal management's at that point. And then we'll go from there. I just got to wait for another couple 10,000 milliamp batteries. I've got two, and I've got a 6,000. I've been tempted to like just hook it up, but what it's going to do is it's going to one's only 100C and the others are 120C. So the discharge rates are different. Well, I could still get the 75 volts out of it. It would the voltage sag on the smaller battery would cause damage to it. And it's not, I don't want to take that risk. So as much as I would love to do a test spin up at 75 volts, I gotta wait for another couple 10,000 milliamp batteries. And they're not cheap, you're like $300 for the pair. So, and they only sell them in pairs. So, and I only need three. I've got two of them now. And then I have my plug that I have set up for the series run to get it to 75 volt. And so that's all set. And this is going to have to run. There is no power distribution board for a 75 volt system that's drawing that many amps. So, this is more of a bus bar configuration. So on this bigger drone, it's running off of a bus bar and then drone can through a Maytag flight controller. Um, and it's not using a power distribution board. It's basically drone can and a bus bar designed to accommodate the amps that are necessary. So you're looking at each ESC is about 120 amps, so it needs to handle about 500 amps. So I went with a bus bar diameter. The thickness and the gauge of the copper is to handle about a 600 amp load. Um, so it should be sufficient for the power distribution. But yeah, basically the idea is I just wanted to touch base with everybody. I know it's getting like late, and these lives I usually don't plan out too far. Um, but yeah, I think what's going to end up happening is I'm going to try and get a flight in. Not so much a full flight yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the wing, the 90 millimeter wing, and I'm going to go to a straightaway, leave it on its wheels, and do some speed testing to see when we get lift. Check its glide path to see if everything is stable, or if it needs to be trimmed. And then I'll probably do a couple of straight back and forth runway runs on that, and then check my rates. So we'll go from my lowest rates first to see controllability. And then after I do all that and confirm all that, um, we'll basically try taking off and then doing a sustained flight. Its top speed's about 115 miles an hour, around there. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, definitely testing on a straightaway. Now there is an RC runway that's pretty close to me. I don't know if they're open during this season. Um, it's been a while since I've been out there because I wasn't doing a lot of old school flying like I used to, like the big powered gliders and nitro power and stuff like that. And um, when I got into the flight controllers and all that other good stuff, it was it made things it's kind of changed everything up. I hadn't been outside. What I want to get is that FMS box, that power glider, um, that 9 footer. That's a big one. I think it's like 3,000 millimeters or something like that. But that thing's a beautiful fly. I had a super sky surfer a long time ago, and then I just like took the old motor off, put a bigger motor on, put a bigger prop on, and then trimmed the prop down and balanced it so I could have more torque. And that thing was fun to fly. That one had like a 6 foot wingspan or more. I think it was more than that, a little bit more than that. But that one was fun to fly, and I have that in one of my videos. It's one of my older stuff, my old school RC video. But I like the foo bar was a basically a wooden nitro plane that I got from like a garage sale. And so I took the old skin off of it, did some balsa wood repair, uh, basically rebuilt the entire plane, reskinned it, and then I put a new motor. No, I had a motor on it. I didn't have to change the motor. I did have to change a few parts of the motor, but it ended up working out pretty well. And getting it going from electric to nitro at that point was like I had to refit everything. So I was like having to get the prop starters and all that other stuff. And sorry, it was like cars going by playing music. Um, but yeah, the that was fun. I loved flying nitro. It was just a lot of fun. I had a couple different planes that were nitro, but refurbishing the older one, well, that one was the that was fun for me because I kind of like pulled it out of the mothballs from somebody's storage and then rebuilt it and flew it, and um, that was years ago. And then I started getting into building. Like my father-in-law got a DC-3. These were all the balsa wood models, but the big ones, the big, the P-51, big beautiful doll, and I built all those. Um, I built all the balsa up on those, and I had the pneumatic landing gear in the DC-3 set up and was ready to go, and I was getting ready to move on to other parts of that. But then a lot of stuff happened in life that made me kind of put stuff in storage, and then we had some people that we lost, some loved ones that passed away, and it happens like several times. I mean, as a matter of fact, I just lost my nephew um, mm, about a week ago, and it's been, a lot of stuff's happened, but I still got to keep pushing forward on the channel. Um, because that's I mean, he loved the stuff that I did when it came to that when he was a kid. He loved all the stuff that I did, and so I got to keep going because it's my passion, and it's regardless of what happens in life, you still got to push forward. So, and then me having to deal with shingles. I mean, that hurts all across here and in my back. It's like just getting hit left and right every time I try to make it forward. Because otherwise, I would have probably flown this thing already. Um, but that kind of held me back. I'm still kind of recovering from that. So it's been rough. So, but we're gonna keep going, and we're gonna keep trucking forward, and um, we're going to build what we're going to build, as crazy as it might look, as experimental as it might look, and we're going to make it work because that's what I do, and I build strange things and fly them, and that's the whole point. Is to have fun doing it. And if something works out or it works really well, then I'll put together the STL file packs and the components lists, get that stuff out to you guys so you can have the STL and have some fun yourself with it. And you know, I know people wanted STL files for the Shrike, the big drone over here, but I don't think you know how much goes into printing that thing. I printed that entire drone with one nozzle on one X1 carbon with 28 kilograms of PETG. That's a big drone. That's 28 kilograms of PETG all through one nozzle. One nozzle. I mean, one nozzle. But let me give you a closer look. Okay. So hold on a second. Okay, yeah, there we go. So obviously, these heat sinks I made just for the purpose of because the top of the outrunner is what gets warm. So I wanted a way to vent that air off of there, and I also put the ESC right into the airflow here on its fins, so that it would actually dissipate the heat much better, and I'd get a lot more thermal control. The MPCNC, which is over there, that's the machine that we basically 3D printed and built so that I could cut out stuff like this out of aluminum. um, and I got my carbon fiber tubes in there that hold the body together. Each one of these nacelles sort of um, are separate. So basically, each body part connected to each one of the nacelles, and then those all came together. And then you got your battery platform. There's a buck converter up here that runs my lighting, and I can put pretty much whatever color scheme I want to on there. You know, since it's all Arduino controlled as far as the lighting goes. Then those sequences will be set to on switches that's on the because I have a TX16X controller over there. Um, this here is just a smaller 22 blade turbine that also runs off of the same motor but uses a 4-to-1 gear ratio. And then that was supposed to be a drone that I was going to be not the mask, the body that I was going to actually build to run the GoPro so I could get some air footage. But I'm probably just going to put the GoPro like on this. I have a mount for this for the GoPro on the front of the top of the drone. So, oops. So, is it, see it here? I don't know if you can see it. There it is. That's the mount right there. GoPro. I've got a lot of stuff to do before this one's ready to go, but this one is ready to go, and that'll be what's next. That's gonna be what we're gonna fly next, and we're gonna have some fun doing it. Whether it fails, whether I find out where the problems are, whether it flies perfectly. That's what this whole thing's about. So you don't want to miss that one. I don't know. I wanted to do it live, but I don't know if I can where I go because usually there's no signal out there at all where I'm flying. So we're gonna fly it, and then we're gonna go ahead and uh, assess the flight. Actually, see how worked in the air from not just feeling how it flies, but going over the video afterwards and seeing if there's anything that's going on I need to address, um, and then go from there. So I may put permanent landing gear on it. I don't know. It was supposed to be a hand launcher originally, but things change sometimes as you modify your design where you're going with it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So I want to thank everyone that did stop by um, and actually checked this out. So I appreciate you stopping by. I appreciate all the opinions. I know some people didn't like it or didn't agree, and with some of my opinions on other subjects as well. That's fine. We're all entitled to our opinions, but we can also be civil to each other about it as well. Um, Once we lose that, that's when we lose the hope for our society. So hopefully we can still have our differences and still enjoy the content. So stay tuned for this. I want to thank everyone who has stopped by. I appreciate every one of you. If you like what you see, go and check out the playlist for the Shrike Sarop drone, for the Shrike concept drone, which is the first 70 millimeter I did. And eventually you'll be able to see the wing. Hopefully within the next couple of days, I'll be able to get a chance to fly it, hopefully. That is, if the pain that I'm going through subsides slightly, then I'll be okay. And then I've got another one over here too. I gotta fly. That one's just extremely experimental. But and I know what Spider would say. He would say, "Win javelin." And javelin is getting a complete redesign because that's the javelin core. So um this one is just more of a drop in for like if you're building a large scale like F-35 or something and you need a lot of torque. So it's about air, it's about moving air, it's about pressurizing that air and pushing it out where you need it. Remember, everyone is a 3D printer. And I thank you all for watching and stopping by. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for the conversation. I appreciate it. I hold no grudges against people who disagree with me. So I hope you come back because there's going to be a lot more. So if this crashes, I'm going to show it and you can say I told you so. But other than that, thanks for stopping by. I will see you all again next time. If I don't see you before Christmas, have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Be safe. Enjoy your family. God bless each and every one of you. And I will see you next time. I've been DPC. I'm out.